The world is old, and in its long memory lie stories forgotten by time. Stories of love, of betrayal, and of vengeance. There was a time long ago when the Vale of Valmore was a land of peace and light. Cradled against the jagged rust-spike mountains, it was tamed by the heroes of the Azure Bond, 10 mighty adventurers who carved peace from the wilderness. Among them rose the noble house of Valmore, their line just and true, their legacy a gift of righteous rule. For generations they ruled with wisdom, and their people knew no fear. Among the last of these noble lords was Prince Willem Valmore, a seeker of knowledge, of adventure, and fate. His journey took him across the realms and seas, but it was aboard a silver ship, under stars not his own, that he found what he never knew he sought. Her name was Astrid Runeward, a Runelander druid born of forest and flame, bold, radiant, and exotic. They were as moonlight and mountain stone, opposites bound tightly by something ancient and unspoken. Through peril and wonder, they adventured as one, and love grew as the sands of time were spent. And though Astrid feared the gulf between their worlds, noble and commoner, kingdom and grove, she could not deny the truth. In the shadow of Mellenbrand, amid the ash and ruin of old magics, she chose him, and he her. They wed under foreign stars, their hearts unshackled by creed or crown, and for a time they lived in the splendor of love's bloom. But peace is a fragile thing. News came swift and cruel. Willem's parents, the king and queen, were dead. He was summoned to rule. He hesitated, torn between love and duty. But Astrid, ever his strength, reminded him that a prince's duty lies with his people. Together, they returned to Valmore Vale, dreaming of a future ruled by compassion, where her druidic gifts would enrich the land, and their love would guide the realm. But dreams are fragile things too. At his coronation, Willem stood tall, Astrid at his side, and offered her as queen. But the nobles recoiled, the commoners whispered, and the clerics, guardians of the tradition and the 10 saints, cried foul. A Runheim commoner cannot be queen, they spat. The clerics demanded her renunciation. They warned all of divine wrath. Willem begged his people, begged them to see her as he did, wise, kind, worthy. But the crowd, uncertain and afraid of the cleric's warning, listened not to love, but to fear. Their jeers rose like a tide, cruel and growling, and Astrid heard. She saw the anguish in Willem's eyes. She saw his soul torn between heart and crown, and she chose to end his suffering. With no words, no curse, no farewell, she stepped from the balcony and fell. Time broke. Willem called out too late. Below, her broken body lay still, and the cruel churchyard stones claimed her life. And as he looked into her sorrowful eyes, 2 truths ravaged him. First, she had looked to him for strength, and she found only doubt. Second, the people he loved were cowards, choosing fear over courage. What love had built, hate now consumed. Willem's heart, once golden, now turned black with grief and pain, and vengeance claimed him. He vanished from the court, descending deep into the buried roots of the old cathedral, where forgotten gods still whispered. There, in darkness older than light, he approached an altar of obsidian, still warm with ancient power. He called to the dreaming ones, gods banished by time and blasphemy. He offered his soul, his name, his very blood. All he asked was that the Vales suffer for their cowardice, that fear would never leave its soil. He begged that joy would flee its hearts, that none would ever forget the price of their pride and cowardice. And with a trembling voice, he damned himself. He drove his blade into his heart. His last moment splayed upon the altar, and with his dying breath, he forsook the name Willem Valmore. The dreaming ones heard his vengeful plea, and they awoke, glad to taint the world again with vile magic. They spat forth a terrible curse. The prince became Craven, a creature of sorrow and darkness, and the Vale became Cravenmoor, a land of fear and despair. Now the land rots beneath twisted trees and malevolent skies. Beasts stalk in the night, as do creatures of the grave and of fevered nightmares. And in the highest tower of Castle Cravenmoor, the prince who once loved rules, neither living nor dead, bound by vengeance. Craven, the eternal lord of sorrow.